In early 2025, space scientists noticed something they couldn't explain. Not because it was dramatic, not because it was loud, but because it was familiar. It wasn't a signal screaming through space. It wasn't an explosion. It was a pattern. And patterns are the one thing the universe almost never repeats by accident. The year began with the most intense solar activity recorded in decades. Massive eruptions rolled off the surface of the sun, not randomly but rhythmically. Scientists expected chaos. What they didn't expect was precision. Solar storms arrived in clusters, spaced at nearly identical intervals. Too consistent to be coincidence. Too imperfect to be engineered. At first, researchers dismissed the timing as noise. The sun is violent. Violence creates illusions of order. But then satellites began reporting something else. Charged particles weren't dispersing normally. They were lingering, as if the space around Earth was briefly holding its breath. When the data was overlaid with deep space telemetry, a disturbing alignment appeared. Radio interference, solar particle density, magnetic field fluctuations. They peaked together. And again, and again. The universe was tapping the same spot, repeatedly. The source was not the sun. The origin point traced backward, past Mars, past the asteroid belt, and into a region of space considered quiet. A place where nothing significant was supposed to happen. Yet something there was reflecting energy back toward us. Not transmitting, reflecting, like a mirror you didn't know existed until light hit it. Telescopes focused deeper. What they found was cataloged quickly and clinically. A cold object, unusual trajectory, no visible outgassing. But it wasn't the object itself that raised concern. It was its shadow. The shadow bent the background stars, not like gravity normally does. It was subtle, wrong in a way that's hard to explain, but easy to feel. Then came the delay. Signals sent toward the object took longer to return than physics allowed. Not by much. Milliseconds. But in space science, milliseconds are screaming alarms. It was as if space itself thickened around it. No press conference followed. No announcement. Instead, internal reviews multiplied. Access tightened. Language softened. When scientists stop using confident words, it usually means one thing. They don't know how to say what they're seeing without sounding afraid. Humanity has always feared the dark. Not because it hides monsters, but because it hides intent. Something can exist without caring about us, but something that reflects us back, that responds, that aligns, that is different. By mid-2025, researchers realized something chilling. The patterns weren't new. They had appeared before, briefly, decades ago. And every time they appeared, human technology had just crossed a threshold. The universe wasn't waking up. It was checking in. When researchers traced the anomaly backward through archived data, they expected static. Old instruments were noisy, crude, unreliable, but instead they found clarity. The same delay, the same distortion, the same subtle thickening of space, recorded in fragments, ignored every time, because each occurrence was too brief and too inconvenient. The years stood out immediately. The now, 2025. The gaps were irregular, but not random. Each appearance followed a moment when humanity pushed outward. A leap in signal strength. A jump in observational reach. Each time we looked farther, something far away seemed to look back. The mistake was assuming space was empty. Not lifeless, empty. Human models treated deep space like a vacuum between objects. But the data suggested something else. A medium. Not matter. Not energy. Something quieter. Something that didn't move. Until disturbed. Scientists turned to the oldest light in the universe. The cosmic microwave background. A relic. A fossil. It should have been uniform. Instead, they found scars. Regions where the background radiation dimmed. Not because of distance, but because something had passed through. Something large enough to leave an impression, and then vanish. Nothing visible, nothing measurable, only the absence of what should have been there. like footprints in snow. After the walker is gone, space had been displaced, and it had taken a long time to settle back. At this point, physics began to fracture. Existing equations could not explain the behavior. New models collapsed under their own assumptions. Every explanation required something uncomfortable. Intent, not intelligence, not life, just response. As if the universe itself had zones of sensitivity. And we had been poking one. The region in question gained an unofficial name: the quiet zone. Not because nothing happened there, but because nothing should. No stars forming, no collisions, no radiation spikes. And yet, every anomaly pointed there, as if silence itself had mass. Then came the unintentional test. A new deep space transmission, powerful, focused, and prolonged. It wasn't aimed at the quiet zone. It passed through it. And something happened that had never happened before. The signal came back altered, not delayed. The return signal carried interference patterns that matched human neural rhythms. Not thoughts, not language, but the timing, the spacing, the echo of cognition itself. As if something had brushed against our signal and picked up its shape. Official explanations followed quickly. Equipment error, signal bleed, coincidence. But internally, the conversation stopped being scientific. Because coincidences don't repeat across decades, and errors don't improve their aim. One hypothesis never made it past internal discussion. It suggested that space itself might not be passive, that certain regions behave like membranes. Pressed they flex, pushed harder they react, and when stressed enough, they remember. Not memory like a brain, memory like pressure marks in stone. Evidence of something that has happened before. Something returning to the same place. Over and over. The realization came too late. Because 2025 wasn't just another year of observation. It was the year humanity planned its loudest act yet. More transmissions. More probes. More presence. We weren't just listening anymore. We were announcing ourselves. And whatever existed in the quiet zone had already noticed the noise. Weeks after the altered signal was recorded, deep space sensors registered a movement, not of an object, of a boundary. The quiet zone changed shape. It contracted, like something pulling inward. The last internal report ended with a sentence that was never meant to be read aloud. If this is a response, we do not know what action triggered it, only that it happened after we spoke too loudly. By the time that report was archived, the solar storms began again. This time stronger, closer, and perfectly timed. The second wave of solar storms did not resemble the first. They were faster, sharper, more localized. Instead of erupting randomly across the sun's surface, they originated from a narrow band, a region that rotated into view with unsettling regularity. Each eruption aligned with Earth's position, not approximately, exactly. Space weather models failed one by one. Predictions lagged behind reality. Safeguards triggered too late. Satellites designed to withstand radiation storms began dropping offline, not from overload, but from synchronization errors. Their internal clocks drifted. Time itself seemed slightly misaligned. This wasn't time dilation. Relativity held. Instead, it was something stranger. Time was intact, but its reference was unstable, as if space had subtly rewritten what now meant. Locally, only briefly, only enough to matter. When analysts layered the new solar data over the quiet zone's contraction, the pattern became impossible to ignore. Every surge corresponded to a tightening, like pressure being applied from one side and resisted from the other. Space wasn't reacting randomly. It was balancing. A final model was proposed behind closed doors. It suggested that the quiet zone was not a place. It was a boundary condition, a threshold where the universe enforces stability. Not everywhere, only where instability has occurred before. The question no one wanted to ask was asked anyway. What happened there the last time? The data could not answer directly, but it offered a hint. Residual distortions implied energy scales far beyond stars, but far below creation itself. Something had pushed space too hard, and space had pushed back. Human technology did not cause the original disturbance. We were too small, but we were now loud enough to resonate with it. Our signals were not harmful. They were familiar. They matched an old frequency. One space remembered. The altered signal from earlier in the year was reanalyzed one final time. Hidden beneath the noise was a structure, not a message, a compression artifact, as if the signal had passed through a system that optimizes for containment, not understanding, not communication, just control. The theory was simple, terrifying. The universe does not prevent intelligence. It prevents instability. And when a civilization reaches a point where its reach threatens the balance, the boundary responds, not violently, quietly, by limiting how far signals propagate, how much energy can travel, how synchronized systems remain. It felt personal because it aligned with us, but it wasn't aimed at humanity. We were just the latest pressure point. Countless others may have passed through the same phase and vanished, not destroyed. Contained. In late 2025, a final deep space transmission was attempted. Carefully modulated. It was meant to test the boundary. It never returned. Not delayed. Not altered. Gone. As if space itself had learned to absorb us. Without a trace. The final internal summary did not use dramatic language. It used caution. It stated, "The universe appears tolerant of observation, but increasingly resistant to expansion." A sentence that ended centuries of assumption. Humanity searched for signs of life among the stars. We assumed silence meant emptiness. We never considered silence might be enforced. Right now, the quiet zone remains stable. The solar storms have eased. Signals travel normally again, but not as far, and not as cleanly. As if space has gently reminded us of a limit. We like to believe the universe is vast, open, and waiting. But vast things don't wait. They endure. Sometimes. They correct. If that is true, then the most frightening possibility isn't that we are alone. It's that we are being allowed to exist, only as long as we stay quiet.